This morning we announced our partnership with Predict Street. They are the exclusive formal FIFA partner for the World Cup this year. We can send a data point that will resolve the market. Zelensky wearing a suit today, yes or no? Is the Strait of Hormuz open, yes or no? Prediction markets as a whole is a fantastic oracle problem to solve for.
In this interview, Chainlink's William Reilley explains why you should be paying attention to prediction markets right now. For the second day in a row, we have had breaking news from one of the interviewees. Today it's you guys, and it's very much in my wheelhouse as a football guy.
Nice.
Can you just give a sort of background on what happened today? What's the news?
Yeah, so this morning we announced our partnership with Predict Street. They're a prediction market launching on the ADI blockchain, and they are the exclusive formal FIFA partner for the World Cup this year. For us, we're an exclusive oracle layer that helps provide data for resolutions on the ADI blockchain for Predict Street markets. So using the FIFA example for Predict Street, we're observing the status of data providers off-chain, and as a market, let's say, game one, game two, whatever round or match is being observed, once those results come in, we aggregate those responses, and we also are able to observe the status of the order book, checking to see if the humans are agreeing. We come to a conclusion with a high level of confidence that the match is indeed ended, and we can send a data point that will resolve the market to dictate who is the winner and who is the loser of that match.
One question, and I think this is a naive question. I'll say that ahead of time. What happens in situations where the outcome is messier than just, a 1-0 win, easy peasy, nothing to really think about? But then I think, again, football guy, right?
Yeah.
AFCON, that happened earlier this year, and we saw a really strange event where in the final Senegal played Morocco, and there was a contentious decision, and essentially the Senegalese players walked off the pitch, and then they came back on eventually, and then they won the game. But because of their walk-off and because of the spectacle, they were retroactively stripped of the AFCON title, and it was awarded, a 3-0 win was awarded to Morocco. Now, there's a few threads that I think are interesting there.
Yeah.
One's the result. It was one thing, then it becomes another. But also even things like 3-0, because obviously prediction markets aren't just who wins. There's more complex markets than that. How does that work in that sort of scenario?
So you have to look at the data layer as a bit of a spectrum, specifically with the lens of prediction markets. When you look at something as hopefully deterministic as a soccer match or a football match, these have known data providers that are high quality that can even be aggregated against to ensure for like uptime or reliability or for any type of discrepancies in reporting. In this case that you've described, it really comes down to how long does it take for the corrective action to come into place versus when the market is actually resolved. There's been 3 UFC matches this year that have been called the wrong winner in the circle, and then 30 minutes later they retroactively overturn it and award it to the other guy. This comes down to the spectrum of expectations of the market itself. So prediction markets, anybody trading on them, highly encourage you to understand the rules of the market that you are participating in. It's very important. Understand word for word the meaning of the market and what you're participating in. When it comes to things like, are you doing a prediction that's just on the full-time match? So this is something that else has come up recently, where one prediction market was settling, I think the Champions League on the full time, but the game went into a shootout. So the full time actually came out as a draw, but the reality conclusion of the game was predicated on the shootout. Now, a different prediction market, they didn't resolve the market until the shootout was conclusive. Whereas the other prediction market, they resolved it at a draw because they only played to full time. So this goes you again, very deeply to how the rules are written. Each market it actually was playing on a different set of rules, even though possibly the traders had a different expectation of what was going to happen. So in your example with AFCON, this was a league level decision. So unfortunately, even if the rules are very clear, even if the data is very crisp, once that outcome is resolved and pushed to a blockchain and those funds are sorted, that's something you can't roll back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's far more complicated than people might realize.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly because I think you do focus on which team won, but there are so many. I mean, in the UK, sports betting's
Yeah.
pretty big, and I've got some experience. I'm not a big gambler, but I have some experience with it, and they're very complex markets, which makes finding the truth
Yeah.
even more important. Are prediction markets and sports, are they going to be a focus of Chainlinks going forward, or is this just sort of a one-off?
So prediction markets as a whole is a fantastic oracle problem to solve for.
Yeah.
I almost consider it somewhat of the holy grail of a situation because, again, you're going to go from something like very deterministic, like an up-down market for Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. This is like something we power with Polymarket today, is all their up-down markets. But then you can have something far more subjective of like, is Zelensky wearing a suit today? Yes or no? Is the Strait of Hormuz open? Yes or no? That's a pretty dramatic spectrum of, can you ask a question to the oracle and get a answer that with high confidence is high quality and is able to resolve the market. So you're going to see from our observations is roughly 80% of the markets that are live today on prediction markets have a known data source or multiple data sources that can be pulled from. So the question is, if you have these known data sources, you know where the rules of the market are, why would you need a collection of humans to observe the same data point to all agree when that data point is just freshly available and can be injected into a system programmatically? Polymarket was our first formal prediction market partner. Right now, we are partnered with 4 of the top 5 on-chain prediction markets by volume. I think the top 5 of the top 10 by volume. And then when you see folks like Predict Street who are entering the circle, there's others that are coming very soon to market. I think we're just going to see kind of an explosion of options out there in terms of prediction markets. And I think Chainlink is very well suited to help them scale and grow.
Are there any areas that are just too difficult to get accurate data from?
It's like, what's the definition of boots on the ground? I think this has been something that's come up in the past where if they just went in for a quick trip to extract somebody and get out, is that considered a full-blown military operation, or is it? So I think that's kind of, those types of markets are very challenging to have just like a very repetitive data-driven analysis. Those ones likely will need some sort of human hive mind to come to a conclusory statement.
Are there any narratives or any threads that you think are particularly interesting in the space that perhaps people aren't paying enough attention to?
I have been heavily focused in prediction markets for quite some time. I think RWAs and tokenization, these are some quite apparent and obvious use cases that are coming forward. I would challenge the market or be most excited about seeing the development of financial products that are built on top of prediction markets. So not just the actual usage of a prediction market itself, but once a position, let's say you're going to take a position in who wins the presidential election for 2028, and you want to take a very large position in this because you like the probability curves of where it's at based upon some thesis that you have that will play out over the next several years. Well, your capital is going to be locked up in that position from now, 2026, to roughly 2+ years. Now, what if you could make use of that financial position that has liquid merit to it on the open market? If you kind of like, if I transfer that position to you, in theory, you could liquidate it and take away, hypothetically, whatever the value of that position was. but I wouldn't want to do that. Can I start taking a loan out against it? So very similar to a fluctuating crypto asset on lending and borrowing markets, where I want to get exposure to a different asset, but I don't want to sell the current asset that I'm holding. So maybe I could take a 2.5-year position in a certain market, then use that position to go borrow against it, and then use that money to take a different position, or maybe even go buy a financial asset for a long position. So now you have this kind of very asymmetrical diversification that you can create as somebody who's managing, money or funds, where you're not only just invested in a financial asset, but you're also hedged on your diversified portfolio in an information or an event-driven market, which is completely disconnected from the other asset that you're owning.